off with Mo. Glad you could join us.
I'm new to this, Mo. Let's go.
Let's get into this. We just heard a video on TikTok. It was sent to us by an anonymous source. We're not going to name the source in this video. But we're going to have the link probably down below.
You know who you are.
All right. So we're going to listen to this video, then we're going to give our feedback on. We're just going to give you the audio because we don't want to get a copyright from this page.
We want to get demonetized.
Demonetized, you know what I mean? Because we're not even getting demonetized at all.
No, we are.
But when we do, I don't want to get demonetized from this guy. All right, so go ahead, play the video.
So listen.
Of what men feel when after we're divorced, the ex-wives drop a lot of weight and look super sexy. We're sitting here thinking, where was that effort when we were married? Why are you doing it only after we're divorced? Now, I don't have that answer, but to the ladies watching, why?
All right, so the video starts, the guy's explaining this, and he says, why does she glow up after divorce instead of while married to him? And that's the caption that he has, and then we'll hear what the lady says.
I have the answer, and all of the women watching will be nodding along with.
Just to go along, like, I don't know this lady's background.
I
don't know if she's a psychologist, therapist. Looks like she's just a wife and a mom.
You can see like a ceiling fan up top. It's hard to tell whether it's a wooden ceiling fan. It looks a little cheap. So I
don't know. Where do they are?
With me. There are 3 types of men as husbands and or fathers. There are men that default most, if not all, of the mental and physical responsibility for parenting and domestic household to women. And it's not specific to women that are stay-at-home moms, but of course, that's the most common excuse that men give for doing that. Secondly, there are...
So that's number one.
All right, so that was number one. I went through it. I heard the video before me and then we talked about it, but I want to go through it with you guys. So number one, she's saying is somebody who pretty much comes home, doesn't get involved in anything on the household side,
up the house,
or involved with the kids. Right? That's pretty much what she labeled it as. She didn't really give details because I think there's a lot. We talked about, I think there's a spectrum.
Big
you're either talking about somebody who's coming home, doesn't even glance at the kids.
Is this dude a millionaire? Does he make a lot of money?
See, that's what I'm saying. Well,
or is he a bum?
Does he come home, glance at the kids, and then put his feet up and drink a beer?
Does he come home
and then
coming
say,
from
cook
the
me
bar?
dinner?
Like, what kind of guy are we talking about?
Yeah.
Who's guy number one?
So I'm trying to figure that out.
Not specific.
That's
She's not
number
being
one.
too specific.
And is it like a Bill Gates where he just works all the time and he doesn't get involved in that stuff because he's just so
Does he own
busy,
5 homes? Or
so
is he
busy taking care of the world? I don't know. So she doesn't get into
But she's saying,
about
and then
that.
this terminology of default parent as a new default parent is the parent who takes care of the house, takes care of the kid, and they do all the work there, and they're the default parent, and the dad doesn't.
I don't really see that being any relationship. It could be. I just don't really see that because somebody's got to. You can't work and we'll see. Number one, that's
there are men that help their wives with the mental and physical responsibility of parenting and domestic household, specific to her returning that favor with something that is for his own personal needs. They will do the dishes, they will put their kids to bed at night after giving them a bath, but their feeling of responsibility and their willingness to do so is connected to whether or not they're getting what they want from her, usually physically. If they're not, they will be much less willing and much more likely to complain about having responsibility for those things. And
all right, so number 2 is
the dude.
I guess the middle.
Yeah.
What she's talking about, because now that's how she's labeled it. 1 is the worst, 2 is the middle, 3 is going to be the best.
By the way, we don't know what the woman does at all. We don't
know what
she's
she
mentioning
does.
this.
But
She's talking about
we're just giving you what she breaks down. So number 2 is the middle guy. He does a little bit of, he does most of what he has to do at home for the kids, for the household. I'm guessing he still goes to work every day.
He works and he's a helper.
And he helps and does everything around the house. But the only reason he really does it, from what she's saying, is it's transactional to where she does it so she can get something out of his wife.
Right. And by the way, again,
but
talking about the female, she doesn't do anything to get anything.
We'll get into more of that because I think that also has to fall on the wife of sorts, because that means that she is allowing it to be transactional.
Right.
Right? So there is no like
he
us
made it
time.
Transactional.
It became a thing where like, baby, if you do this, I'll do this for you, right? It has to become that eventually. You can't just, it's got to be transactional like that.
By the way, everything's fun.
Yeah, but I think yeah, I think transactional is not a bad thing the way to look at it, but you know, and of course, number 3 is the best husband, and of course, you know who has the best husband. We'll hear.
Yeah, we'll find out.
And thirdly, there are men that carry their share of responsibility, both physically and mentally, for parenting and domestic household because they want to, and it's rewarding for them.
This is my second time hearing this, but I don't know how you carry your mental responsibility. How do you carry your mental responsibility?
It's like emotionally being there.
Carry your mental responsibility, emotional being there. Okay.
Yeah. Like his emotions, he's not taking it out on her. Her emotions, she explains to him most likely, and he just sits back and like, "You right, I love you, and it's gonna be okay." So responsibility on his part and her part.
I was thinking about totally different things.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, because I'm
Maybe
saying,
wrong.
like, physical responsibility is me physically doing the stuff. That's what I'm responsible for.
Right, but
mentally, I don't know how I carry that. Right?
I'm responsible for my own
Maybe I'm
feelings.
thinking of it physically wise, like,
Yeah, like
how am I going to carry mental responsibility with everybody? Like, how am I going to, I don't know how, like, you say you're not there.
yeah.
Like, that's one thing, or you're not being there, I guess, mentally, or, I don't know, emotionally, I don't know. I'm just confused with that part, but we'll see.
For
I don't
them.
think he explained it.
Whatever they are experiencing in their interpersonal, romantic, physical relationship with their wife is separate from the way they feel about responsibility for parenting and domestic household. Women that glow up after divorce are married to one of the first 2 types of men, and women that glow up in the marriage are married to the 3rd type of man. I'm married to the 3rd type.
Of course you.
Of course she. Well, she's perfect. She's an
Give
angel.
an explanation.
Well, let me finish the music second. First of all, maybe the reason why the first and second man ain't doing shit is because the bitch ain't glowing up ever. Old lazy bitch. Maybe glow up. Glow up a little bit at home, and maybe he will do. But then again, she would mention that as a transactional relationship, right? She would still say, "Oh, you're only doing this to get me to glow up, or you're only doing this to make me glow up."
But you don't know, unless it's said, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's said, like, I'm gonna wash the
Like a
dishes
ground
to
rule.
have sex,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Then you don't know why he's doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Even if he does it his whole life transactionally, you don't know it unless it's being, like, explained.
True.
Right? You'll say he gets upset. I guess that would be the one reason he'd be like, "Oh, well, I didn't do that. You know, after you did the dishes, I didn't do this, so now you're upset with me."
And the way she's saying it too is like all men are like this.
well,
and-
she says all women are.
and there's
like
only 3 types of men.
The way
Right?
she explained it was like why she gave the specific why women glow up is there with those type of men. Not the fact that they was with a man they didn't want, not the fact that they was, you know, had kids from somebody they didn't want to have kids with, or got married to somebody they really didn't want to get married.
She's saying
to.
it's all like perfect.
She's
rainbows
saying
and
it's
sunshine.
like the woman is in there for the long term. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing.
Well, of course she's a woman.
I
They
know.
always do.
It's just, but I'm saying, but you're not being you're not being middle ground. You're not like coming from a good
A good
source.
place, yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like being biased on it.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, some women glow up because I think, for me personally, I think they glow up. To answer that is because
have
they
to.
got to go back in the field,
You have to.
right? They have to go back in and battle against younger
Dating
women.
again and battle.
Well, they got to battle
women.
against younger women
Yeah,
because I say this all the time, man. Like, women, and this is, you know, might be some manosphere shit, but red pill shit, whatever. But like, men get better with age as far as our like value, right? And this is just factual, right? Men peak salaries at 40s and 50s. That's just it. You make more money as you grow. Like, if you're in a field or in a career, you make more money as you grow as a man.
Yeah.
Right? Women too, but women's value don't connect to their money. Right? Like, if that was a fact, then Oprah would be the number one
Sought after
bachelorette. She'd be like, everybody be after Oprah because Oprah has all the money, right?
Oprah looks like.
But if you don't, and they say you like, you know,
Maybe you like
heavier
that.
women,
Yeah,
right?
maybe you like that.
But she doesn't still have a value that much value because she's just older, right? And she's rich.
And
but
she's
it's different.
smart, super smart too. She has a lot of good
that's
qualities,
but that's not all values.
she's not seeked out.
That's not all the values of
That's a
men.
good point. That's a good point.
So like, you know, and when you get old, when we get older, we get divorced, and we're in our 40s. I'm peak, right? I'm in the peak. You're older, so the men that you could date is gonna be less, right? They're gonna be a less pool, right? If you had a pool like this, it's like this now because now you can't date like somebody your age, right? Because somebody your age is gonna want to date somebody in their 30s, right? Fit
a new
30-year-old,
model,
right?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I'm looking for a Ferrari, bro. A new Ferrari.
You might have to date a 60-year-old guy if you're in your 40s, type of thing.
As a
A
female.
man has a choice between. We can go to all those groups
Mhm.
because there's still gonna be those women that got divorced at 40 and want to date us.
Mhm.
I could go date an older girl,
We're talking about value.
right? If I wanted to, and I could go date a younger girl.
Well,
Right? Just facts.
you have
It's
a
just truth.
wider range.
So the glow up thing, I think, part get back to that is just you got to get back in shape. You got to get back to where your your sexual prowess is showing, like you're looking good and fit, right? Afterwards.
Which I feel like you should have in the marriage, right?
Well, yeah, you could have been doing.
Oh, I
that
guess
all
if
the
you're
time.
if you're number one or number two.
Because I think his question was, why do they glow up after? Why they don't glow up in the marriage?
why do they lose the weight? Why do they
She's
have to
saying the
do it in
reason
marriage?
why, the exact reason why they do that is because they had number one and number two guy.
Right, and that's,
That's
why
what
they
she's
do
saying.
it.
There's no other explanation.
They have to do it no
except
matter what, because now you have to get yourself back on the market, and you're going to be offering, right? Let's just look at it as business. You're going to be offering your best self, because and they're not
Right, you
really
gotta
gonna,
sell it. You gotta sell
you got to
yourself.
sell yourself now. Now you're a
Yeah.
salesman, right?
Yeah.
So you got to sell yourself to the next person. Now you're going to wind up most likely be going right back to what you were doing before, and then you're going to wind up in the same bullshit you did before. Same exact scenario. You're going to make him as though he is option number one or two, right?
Well, because you never noticed what was the wrong with the
Yeah,
person.
what about you, lady? What about you? What maybe if you would have tried on your end and complained less and stopped putting your man into 1 to 2 to 3 boxes, right? Because there's hundreds of boxes that you could have explained, but you basically are telling us there's only 3, which is not true. If that's the case, maybe stop overanalyzing that and start analyzing
I
what
don't
you're
think they
doing.
analyze at all. So I don't even know. This lady analyzed because she's at home and
Yeah.
she seems like she has a lot of time on her hands.
She got a little ceiling fan.
She got a lot of time on her hands, so she makes videos. But what I'm saying is, I don't even think they analyze that far. I think she's just trying to put out this thing of, and then she said exactly what was the purpose of the video. All the ladies are gonna be nodding their head forward, and that's exactly what has happened, right? Every woman was nodding their head, every man was shaking their head.
Yeah.
Because you're not being honest and you're not being truthful with what you're talking about. So of course it's gonna be biased, and all the women are gonna be blah blah. So let's be all the single women. You're married. I would love to hear, maybe your husband tell the same story, or see who he is, just so I can see what type of
man he
we're
is.
talking about. So, it is what it is. I think the video is, she's not. I don't see any
She's not right.
truth in it.
Here's another thing too.
I
What I
see
was
a lot
thinking
of
about the
these
other day. I was thinking about this. A lot of this TikTok shit, but this is the time before all of this. Right? Let's just go back for a second. In the 1950s, in the 1980s even, we didn't have access to internet. They had to read shit, or they had to just experience what they experienced. So they didn't have all this extra information. We're living in an information world right now, which is great. It's great. But some information is good and some information is bad. Some information is toxic because you're only hearing from one side or one opinion, right? And they'll say all women can do. Yeah, it's very easy to do that, especially if you only give them 3 fucking options. But I feel like if you really look at it, and we can talk about from Andrew Tate to Oprah, right? We can talk about all of them. It seems as though they're pitting us up against each other again. They're looking at, this is my opinion, this is what I think. All the girls are going to be clapping, all the girls are going to be nodding their head. Well, you're already trying to turn all women against men again. Instead of trying to keep us together or trying to find a way to, why don't you say something that helps instead of saying something that separates?
But they all selling something.
Of course they
At
are.
the end of the day, everybody's selling, somebody's buying.
But that's the same thing with the wife who does try to get the next guy. She's trying to sell something.
No, she has to sell herself.
Yeah, you're selling yourself. Well, how about we sell the marriage? I want to make sure this marriage works. So how can you give me some information how to sell this marriage the right way?
Yeah. I don't know all her opinions. I just know that one she gave on that, and I think that's whack. But, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you're going to hear that type of stuff all the time. I just think you need to think a little bit for yourself. And some stuff is like,
Critical
it's
thinking?
common sense type of thing, like where you're like, oh, that can't be all the men. That can't be everybody.
It's obvious.
Right? But some people look at that and be like, yeah,
There
you're
is
right.
only
That's why
3
I
men.
divorced that guy. That's why I divorced that guy. 'cause he
I'm
was number
right.
1 or he was number 2, and you're like, what did I do?
Whatever. You're gonna wind
That's
up in
the
the
only
same
thing
spot.
you never see. What
Yeah.
did I do? I didn't do anything.
Exactly.
He did everything. So
Yeah. I feel like the man number 3 is for sure gonna be the one divorcing her. So, Anyway.
I don't even know what man number 3. I don't understand man number 3 and number 2. Number 1,
He's just saying
he's saying number 1 is
taking
a deadbeat.
The sex and the
That's what she said.
you got to do something for me out of everything else he does. He just does it because he does it, and then the sex is separate.
Yeah, but that would be.
But we all do something for
he's a
something. I
saint.
go to work to get paid.
He's a saint then.
I go to work to get paid. I married my wife for the love. I want love from you. I want to be able to ride this ride out till we're old
Number
together.
3 is a saint though.
Yeah, but
He does stuff without even asking for anything.
no, here's the problem. She thinks that number 3 isn't going on his TikTok swiping through ass on his phone.
He might not be that
I
guy.
bet you he is.
Yeah, he might. I'm saying I'm not gonna see that
Bet you he
again.
is.
I don't want to label. I don't like
I
to
do.
do that. In.
I love Lane.
So I'm saying number 3 is a saint. You're saying he's doing something without any type of getting anything. He's giving without. He's giving
without getting. Which I do. I've done. You do
There's-
that same thing.
People do that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but like to do it all the time, you think that's just his way.
He's
of
not standing
living?
up for himself.
I
Though.
don't know if that's true.
Yeah, bro. I like to be direct. This is what I
I don't
want.
think any person.
This is what I need. The thing is I'm not the guy who to be quiet and silent in the corner, not saying anything and just going along
All
with life.
humans-
That's taxing, bro. That's
all humans-
tiring. That's exhausting
All
mentally.
humans are greedy, selfish. I forgot all 6.
Always, every time.
Greedy, selfish.
But you know the 6.
You know the 6
thing,
days
bro. Come on.
psychology.
How many times
bro.
we
Come
gotta
on,
say it?
goddamn, every video said it. All right, we'll see you on the next one.